Once upon a time, there was a plucky squire named Jot.
Well, hello everyone. Ogre27 Kane here today, and we're going to do a review of the Plucky Squire for Nintendo Switch. Let's do a brief overview and figure out what this game is all about. So first of all, I'm going to start off by letting everybody know I'm a little under the weather and my voice is a little nasally right now, so I apologize for that. But that being said, this is an action-adventure open world style storybook. It's very hard to explain as this game has a ton of different gameplay elements and different features to it, and sometimes you'll be side-scrolling, sometimes you'll be top-down, sometimes you'll be in a three-dimensional world, and there are tons of different combat features to this as well. You're not always just using your regular action-oriented stuff. There's a really cool boxing match I show off in this that's very similar to Punch-Out! This game has so much variety to it, it's absolutely insane, and I absolutely enjoyed it. So, I think without further ado, we should go ahead and talk about some of the bigger elements. Let's start with gameplay. So first of all, I'm going to show off that boxing match, as it is one of the cooler elements that I saw at the beginning of this game and really shook things up right from the get-go. Everything about this game screams variety, and there's so much fun to it, so many different things that it will take you off guard every time you do something new. At first, it really just starts out with a 2D side-scrolling storybook, if you will, going from page to page. But then you'll get in these weird pseudo behind-the-back 3D, third-person type fighting elements. Then you'll go to a top-down perspective like old-school Zelda, and then you'll go back to a 2D perspective, and then you'll get pulled completely out of the book, which I'll show some at the end here, and it goes into a three-dimensional world outside of this. There's so many fourth-wall breaking elements to this that it just blows my mind, and I had so much fun with this little 10-hour adventure. I really want to see what this company can do going forward in the future, and I hope that this game really does do well, because their ideas are just off the wall, especially for a video game. I feel like there's a lot of things that they could change up even more. Let's go ahead and hit the story now. So the story starts out with your main character Jot, who's basically just the all-around badass to this world, and he just accomplishes everything on a whim. Jot is written in by the creator, if you will, to the world. He's a little boy who just has his own fun with the elements. There's a wizard, though, who decides that he's going to completely shake up Jot's world and change everything. And yeah, you'll meet some cool characters like Thrasher, who's really one of my favorites. He's like a heavy metal troll, for lack of a better word. But a lot of the game centers around this kid's imagination and how Jot is always the hero. Things will change, though, like I said, when that wizard gets involved and he throws everything for a loop. Suddenly Jot is no longer all-powerful and wins every fight. It really does add an element of chance to the game and a little bit of differentiation, although you know at the end, you're gonna save the day. I love this because it's simplistic, but at the same time, it allows a lot to it. So let's do graphics and animations. So the graphics and animations in this game are pretty awesome. They look absolutely gorgeous, and they did a great job. Everything is very stable and consistent. It starts out with this hand-drawn, top-down 2D art style that's very reminiscent of an old Zelda game, but things will change as you play through the game. When you get thrown into the real world, it's all three-dimensional, and the game has a completely different look and aesthetic to it. It has a different feel to it, too, as everything feels more threatening. The vibe gets a little more dangerous. You don't really feel like you're the top dog anymore. And I love that because it's the fourth wall element to this game that they really pushed hard to kind of achieve. The other thing is that this game has a very stable frame rate. I can't really show it off too well in this video because I can only record at 30 FPS, but it's a very smooth game and it has a very, very solid performance. I didn't have any issues with crashing, and I didn't have any issues with music or sound effects or anything. I truly believe this game was a gem. So let's go ahead and talk controls and audio now. So we're going to go ahead and start out with the audio, because I think the audio in this game is really good. I truly enjoyed the music, and I think the narrator's voice fits it perfectly. Jot himself doesn't really necessarily say a lot, but some of the other characters have some good dialogue, and you'll truly enjoy the acting. The game does have a great soundtrack, and, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and show it off.
Jot made his way up the steep steps. And so, the Plucky Squire once again defeated the wretched wizard Humdrum.
Absolutely love it. So the controls in this game are pretty good. There's really nothing difficult about them. They function well. But just be forewarned, there's some stealth parts in this game that can get pretty annoying, and the game has some weird hitboxes and detections. But not really a big gripe, so let's go ahead and move on now to the combat. So the combat in this game really does change with each style or element of gameplay that you're involved in. When it's top down like this, it really plays like an old school Zelda game with your sword and using different mechanics to it. When you go into the 2D side-scrolling sections, it really feels like Zelda 2 if you've ever played that, where you have more of a jump element involved to it and a dodge element. Then you get into these 3D elements like this, and this is where the game kind of gets a little bit rough, because you want to be able to interact with them in the same fashion, but you can't not necessarily do that. Sometimes you'll be stuck using different elements of the world to solve the puzzle, and it's a little more frustrating and not so forward. I didn't really like the 3D sections as much per se because they're definitely based around this combat element, but when you're in the 2D area, the combat is an absolute blast, and it's very reminiscent of an old NES game. I enjoyed a lot of these aspects, but the combat is not really the shining spot to this game, and it is just pretty simple in its own right. You will find new weapons and new techniques to utilize though, and each one of these techniques, like throwing your sword, do play their part, and they help solve puzzles and they help with combat. So let's go ahead and hit conclusion. So in conclusion, I think the game is an absolute must-buy for someone like me who has a lot of nostalgia for comic books and growing up with these kind of stories and the fourth wall breaking jokes. But that being said, if you're not really into what you're seeing here, I would not recommend picking it up because that is really what the game is centered around. It is a good value. You can pick it up for about 40 bucks for a physical copy and 50 or 60 for the special edition like I got that has an art book and soundtrack. But it is definitely, you're seeing what you get with it. So I recommend it, but I don't. Really, it's up to you. So thank you for watching today's video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre27 Kane, signing out.
Yeah!
And so our heroes set off to Artia City to visit the good Queen Chroma.